One of my guest leaders, and he will be talking about it in a few before we go for the main discussion. I want to thank members of parliament, the general public who went out yesterday to bury the former member of parliament for Kalangala. We still offer our condolences to the family and the friends and the political party of National Unity Platform. And yesterday's discussion on the sovereignty bill, we had Councillor Richard here, and we were talking about what sovereignty means and what constitutionalism is going to look like after that bill is passed. The consultations are going on today. Yesterday, the Attorney General was at Parliament having his consultations before the Legal Committee of Parliament. We wait and see what the people are going to be presenting today, because most of civil society organizations, I think Dr. Sarah Bilete, Dr. Maria Metembe are all appearing today. And we hope, and we shall be following those discussions, and come next week we shall be having a few talks around that. Now, I want to make a preamble for the man I have today. He is an educated man. He comes from Bunyoro sub-region. Naija kuturamukia Murunyoro, but he comes from Kagadi specifically, and he's a studied man. He is a doctor, but not these doctors of honorary PhDs, but a man who studied a PhD in social and human sciences. He has a bachelor's in tourism. He has a master's in human rights. He has a master's in international development. He is a contestant for Member of Parliament for East African Legislative Assembly. You know, when we have shows like this, we bring people who have impact in our generation. He's an executive director of Youth Alive, an organization that does so much in youth spaces and so much in mentorship, especially for the young people. Me, personally, myself, I have interfered with his mentorship program, and I mean, look at how we have turned out. Today we are with Dr. James Byarugaba, and we are discussing issues of East African cooperation. As many of you know, the East African region has been having crises here and there. We have issues of agriculture, we have issues of transportation, we have issues of labor export, we have issues that are contentious. We have issues of insurgencies. We had the one in Kenya where they were rioting, mandos every, I think, Tuesdays and Thursdays. We had in Tanzania issues. Now, the Member of Parliament discussion for East African Legislative Assembly went vacant when the two members of Parliament, Honorable Namara Dennis and Honorable Kakoza, who are representing us in the East African Legislative Assembly, stepped down, and they went for constituency elections here. James Kakoza is now a Member of Parliament for Eldari here in the Central. Namara is a Member of Parliament, I think, for Buyaga East, where Honorable Tinkasimire was, Buyaga West. Now, there lives a vacancy. We saw almost 30 contenders in the NRM. He belongs to the National Resistance Movement, and also he is a PLU coordinator for Kagadi. How is that interesting? You know, today is a birthday for the CDF, and he is the patron or the head of the Patriotic League of Uganda, and the people who subscribe to that movement also belong to the NRM. Some, I don't know where they fall, but still belong to the NRM. Now, we are going to talk about regional cooperation, but before we go into the regional cooperation, let me have the man himself introduce himself. Doctor, we're happy to have you today.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes.
A good morning to our viewers. My name is James Byarugaba. Where I come from, the Ada Atenyi.
Atenyi, yes.
Yamabaragange niyo James Byarugaba Atenyi. Ndi musajja muhinda kuluga Kagadi district.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, Doctor, we want to thank you for showing interest for the position of Member of Parliament for East African Legislative Assembly. We want you to walk us through what it would look like having you in the East African Parliament.
Thank you so much. Before that, allow me to send my condolences to the family of Honorable Nachimuri,
yes,
and indeed to the Parliament of Uganda. It is so unfortunate to lose a young brain, so young, so vibrant, but like they say, that's how God wanted it.
Yes.
But they are unanswered questions, and I think it is fair and just that those unanswered questions are answered to the satisfaction of people, especially the post-mortem report, and all those things. So I'm one of the contestants for the East African Legislative Assembly. I'm also the executive director for Youth Alive Uganda. Those of you that have interfaced with Youth Alive Uganda, we are a national and indeed international organization. We support young people to transition into employment. We do linkages to financial services, to markets that are, for those that are into production. We also do skilling in a bid to improve the well-being of young people, knowing that Uganda is a young country.
Yes.
About 75% of Ugandans are young people. So it's important that we invest in them. I'm also the PLU coordinator for Kagadi district. I'm proud of that. I am the only district coordinator directly appointed by the General, General Muhoozi Kainerugaba.
Okay.
And we are celebrating his birthday on Sunday. And I want to take this opportunity to call upon all Ugandans. If you haven't secured a kit, kindly come and secure one. Part of your staff, I have some in the car, I can give you some.
Thank you.
I want to call Ugandans to come and also participate.
Okay.
So going back to East Africa, in 1999, the heads of state of the original East Africa, when I talk about original, I'm talking about Uganda, Kenya, and Tanzania.
Yes.
So the heads of state sat down and signed a treaty, kind of an agreement, a legally binding agreement, to form the East African community. And to understand the East African community, the purpose was to improve the well-being of East Africans. Of course, arising from the fact that the individual markets were small,
Yes.
and they realized there is much more that we can achieve when we come together. If we merge our markets, if we remove the borders and we allow free movement of goods, free movement of labor. So they signed that agreement.
Okay.
And of course, after signing that agreement, and I want to go back to what does the well-being of East Africans mean? And for you to understand that, you've got to understand the respective internal interests, what I would call domestic development agenda,
Okay.
or what forms the domestic policy. And I will speak for Uganda, not the other countries. If you come back home, our development agenda is aligned to the Uganda Vision 2040, which aims to transform Uganda from a peasant to a modern and prosperous country.
Yes.
And that is implemented through a development strategy. You've heard of National Development Plan, the NDP.
Yes.
Now we're talking about the NDP 5. And NDP 5 outlines core development agenda.
Yes.
You're talking about economic development. You've seen government implementing programs like Operation Wealth Creation. Now we have the parish development model with an aim to improve household income.
Yes.
You're talking about industrialization. You're talking about promoting what is produced in Uganda. You've heard of BUBU, Buy
Yes.
Uganda,
Buy Uganda, Build Uganda.
Build Uganda. So all those are programs that are aimed to transform the economy of this country. But of course, the other pillar is about the human and social development, improving our healthcare, education, and other things. Of course, I've talked about industrialization, improving the security of the country, because peace is an important ingredient for social economic development.
Yes.
When there is no peace, you can't talk about development. And I think Uganda has, as Uganda have been able to develop because we've had an uninterrupted peace
Yes.
for some time. So that forms the domestic development agenda.
Yes.
Now, when you look at the foreign policy for Uganda, it is a reflection of the internal, of the domestic,
Yes.
domestic policy. So how do we ensure the well-being, the economic development, the social and human development, the security, and the things I've talked about?
Yes.
So when they sat, they realized we can achieve much more if we come together. So after signing the treaty, they had to put in place structures to ensure the operationalization and realization of the East African community. And that's how the East African Legislative Assembly came
Yes.
to be. Because then it would be, we would need a legal framework, and then the East African Legislative Assembly was critical. And of course, there's the summit. So if you look at the East African community, it has four structures. You have the summit
Yes.
that brings together the heads of state. You've got the council that brings together the ministers. Then you've got the East African Court of Justice.
Yes.
because whenever you have laws, there must be an enforcement agency. Then you have the East African Legislative Assembly that is in charge of legislating, putting in place laws to ensure the operationalization. Now, going back to the community, the heads of state identified 4 pillars that are key for the realization of the well-being I talked about. One was the customs union. So in 2004, the heads of state signed what we call the East African Customs Union Protocol, and where they agreed to a free trade zone with 0 tariffs, meaning that there was going to be no borders, there was going to be no tariffs or taxes as long as goods originated from a member country, because taxes were becoming a hindrance to East African trade. Then in 2009, they signed the Common Market Protocol. The Common Market allows free movement of goods across the East African countries. It allows free movement of labor to ensure that we address unemployment. Like I said, whatever we are trying to achieve in East Africa is kind of selfish, because the interest of Ugandans must be at the center of what we achieve at East African level, even at global level. The issue of patriotism and Pan-Africanism guide our core principles.
I was actually going to get in. I was still enjoying the history and the biblical background of the East African community and how this resonates with our day-to-day lives. So I didn't want to interrupt. I wanted you to make that preamble and finish it. But in that line and in that discussion, we want to look at you as a person and your candidature. When I look at the things you stand for, I would read them. One is patriotism, Pan-Africanism. These 2 you have literally explained them. And there is diplomatic pragmatism that delivers meaningful regional integration. Then evidence, research-based legislation. We want to attribute you to a studied man. When we look at your master's in international development and your master's in human rights and then a PhD. Now, you are well equipped to deliver the evidence-based legislation. Let's talk about this diplomatic pragmatism. Now, you are in an election that is more of a caucus election of NRM members of parliament, and most times we have seen NRM members of parliament take party decisions, because it's a multi-party dispensation and parties influence. Now, you have issues that are cross-cutting and are not just party decisions and party standings. You have, if you are going to represent East Africa, you have issues that are representing every person who is in the East African Corporation. How are you going to balance the party position and also representing diplomatic standings as you are advocating for in your standards? So,
thank you so much, but allow me, because I wanted to first make a case for the 4 pillars for the viewers to understand what exactly we are pursuing. So I've talked about the customs union, I've talked about the common market. The other key element of common market is a right to establishment and residence. That you, Calvin, you have a right to go to South Sudan, to Kenya, and establish a business and even become a resident, buy land, build, because you become a citizen of East Africa. Because at a higher level, when it comes to political federation, you will remain a Ugandan, but you also subscribe to the East African integration.
Let me make a question out of that exactly. In Uganda, we have laws, me being a lawyer, we have laws in the Land Act that says a foreigner cannot own land other than a lease. You're talking about acquiring land.
No. So once we attain the East African integration, we shall all become citizens of East Africa. There will be no that word foreign.
Foreign, yes.
Uganda cannot be a foreigner in Kenya. That's why we're talking about me not needing a visa if I want to go to Somalia. Or if I want to go to Rwanda. Because I am a citizen of East Africa and I have a right to stay and live wherever I choose.
So it is more of a vision of where I want to be.
Yeah, it's a vision. Of course, we're not yet there, and that's where, but that's where we are moving towards. The other critical element, the other pillar is the common currency. a dream that one day, actually, the Common Currency Protocol was signed in 2013. Member states had given themselves 10 years, meaning by 2023 we were supposed to have a common currency. Unfortunately, it did not happen.
Yes.
But that was the dream. But a common currency is very important. You see, in all the 8 East African countries, each one of the countries uses a different currency.
Yes.
Ugandan shillings, Kenyan shilling, Tanzania, they go to South Sudan, they are using
Francs,
dollars,
in
Rwanda
Rwanda.
francs. And our traders lose a lot of money when they are exchanging. Because when you go with shillings to Kenya, you cannot procure things in Ugandan shillings. You've got to convert.
Yes.
If you go to Rwanda, you must convert. And in that conversion, our traders lose money. But also the other bigger dream is that we need to establish an East African bank, central bank, that can help regulate government expenditure to avoid debt burden, that can also regulate borrowing of member states, but quite important, regulate inflation. So that is the core. Now that takes me to why am I going there? And I'm going there at a critical time when President Museveni has been just elected as the chairman of the community. And that is historical and very key. Because if you look at the historicals, the original vision bearers for the integration, I think he's the only man still standing.
Yes.
You look at Julius Kambarage Nyerere, is gone. You look at Jomo Kenyatta, is no more. Now, these other leaders on the block are new. The current president of Kenya, Tanzania, with due respect, they don't have a strong vision, just like Museveni has it. And recently, when he became chairman, he made a statement. He said, any delay in the East African integration is a betrayal to our people. Anything that we do to delay the process of integration, we are betraying our own people. Because all the 4 pillars I talked about benefit the local wananchi. It is our traders that suffer when they take their merchandise to Kenya and they are denied access.
Now, Doctor, you make a very good discussion, and me being a scholar of international business, I want to resonate with you that you are making a case for more of European Union. Now, European Union has the same embodiments you have, and when we saw Britain exit, the Brexit that we saw, we had seen European Union come up with euros, and they had a one currency, they had a system that they believe in. And we see how the EU has been performing, especially when it comes to the crisis that they are facing now of the oil, and you have seen one bloc speaking. Now, you resonate to say that East Africa should follow the same shift. You talked about the common currency, where we gave ourselves 10 years. There was a discussion when in the European Union of having a central bank, that the European Union has a euro, which is a currency, but they don't have a central bank which will print the euro. So each country in the European Union prints their own money. And that is why Britain left, because of some of the reasons. You're telling us to use money, yet we carry the burden of printing the money. Now, we have a political will for achievement of all these things. Kenya changes presidents almost every term. Most of them spend 2 terms and then they change. Tanzania changes most of it. When you look at South Sudan, it has one president for some period of time. Rwanda has one. When you look at Ethiopia and Somalia, they have had issues. Now, when the presidents change and new people come into those positions, yet Uganda has had the same president for almost 40 years. He carries the vision, he carries the torch, and he knows what he wants to achieve. Does the political will still stand when we have change in the national seat?
So for me, it's not about the change, it's about the system. One of the core mandate of the East African Legislative Assembly is to harmonize the legal framework across the region, to ensure that we are the same level of democracies. We're talking about mature democracy. And that harmonization means that we have the same system. If it is a presidential term, it has to be the same. If there are any discrepancies, then the East African Legislative Assembly has to work towards harmonizing. Of course, we are not yet there.
Yes.
We have countries that have
7 terms.
have no age limit. Others have age limit.
Yes.
You have others that have 5 years. Others
7 years.
So they see that discrepancy that the East African Legislative Assembly has to harmonize. Now, going back to the monetary thing, the other critical thing is harmonization of our fiscal policy as well as the monetary policy to ensure that across the region. I think the East African Central Bank comes last. What is important or what comes first is the harmonization of our fiscal and monetary policy.
Yeah, we have a bank though.
So even if respective countries still control their monetary and fiscal issues, as long as they have harmonized fiscal and monetary policy, there's no problem. But ultimately, we need a more authority in form of the East African Central Bank that can control. Because once you leave respective member states to control their own monetary and fiscal affairs, sometimes they err. They end up